everyone. Welcome to Community Roots, a place where we gather in community to talk about mental health so we can travel the journey of life together. I'm Samuel Richards.
I'm Julie Richards.
And I am so excited to introduce the ever-kind Nita Sweeney. Thanks for being off the beaten path with us this week.
Hey, I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to chat with you guys.
Yeah, it sounds like, we've had a whole episode or two just leading up to this recording. So it's good to make it official a little bit and, share it out with people. But a little bit of what I know about Nita. I know she was actually doing some lawyer classes for my partner whenever she, pretty much texted us the minute you started talking and said, this is a woman you definitely want to connect with. And I'm excited. I mean, I'm just going to get out all my excitement right now. But I looked into Make Every Move a Meditation, and I thought that was really interesting as well. So I'm excited to have you on the show. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you again. I'm an author, a best-selling author. I love saying that. Award-winning author. Love saying that too. But primarily, I'm a person who lives with mental health struggles. And I am a lawyer. I did practice for a number of years, and I left the practice because of my mental health struggles. And then for many years, I wandered around the writing landscape trying to find my way. And eventually I found three things that I always say keep me on the planet. In addition to therapy and meds, let's just get honest. I'm definitely always going to be probably on some kind of medication. And probably will always see a therapist because it's really helpful.
Yeah, it's nice.
But the non-professional things that I have found that have helped me more than anything are writing practice. So it's a particular form of writing, but it's kind of like journaling, kind of like free writing. And it's the woman who coined that term is a long-term meditator, Natalie Goldberg. And then, excuse me, I also found that meditation, which is what is in that book, Make Every Move Meditation, that helps me stay grounded, stay present, learn kind of who I really am, the insight piece of it. And then finally, once I added movement to the mix, things really changed. So those three things, writing, meditation, and movement. And for me, it's running, but it could be pickleball, it could be walking, it could be yoga. Anything like that, it could be. So those three things have led me to a place where I'm able to write books. And that's what I love to do. I like to write long nonfiction books about, they're very memoirish, but about how my experiences have helped others, how I have used things to help myself. And then I write the books and I, share with people. And I'm a mindfulness coach. Also, I'm a certified mindfulness teacher. So that's sort of a long answer. The short answer is best-selling author of 3 books, mindfulness coach, ultra marathoner, wife, and dog mom. That's the short answer.
Dog mom. Yay.
Yeah, I love that. I'm actually looking at my own resume thinking, oh, maybe I should pump that up a little bit. That's a pretty good list. But, Nita, I was interested. I'm sorry, Mom, you're welcome to hop in here. But I was interested, with my wife being a lawyer, just kind of, I know that her mental health is something she has to focus on. And for her, that's, a lot of food-based, a lot of exercise-based movement. She does write as well, which I thought that was cool. But I'm interested, where did you find the strength and hope, like kind of in that movement from attorney to, writer and author? Did you have any, people that you looked to? I'm just curious. I enjoy,
yes.
I just did a deep breath where I was all about motivation and growth. So I'm just curious, where that was for you.
Yeah, so I've always been a very driven person. Even in the midst of my depression, I still had to make sure that the pills were in the boxes. Check. I did that. It was that's the kind of thing. But I had a lot of help. I was so fortunate to have really, really good insurance at the time of my breakdown, because I had practiced for almost 10 years and became severely suicidal. Um, Came really, really close to ending my life, and I ended up in the
Mm.
hospital. And then
Mm.
I was in the hospital, I don't know, not very long, but um, once they got me stable, then they put me immediately into partial hospitalization. I think I was in that for about 8 weeks, and then I was in the outpatient for a couple of years because it was really bad, and they couldn't. It was just so hard because I had been this sort of, in my mind, very important person. I was a partner in a law firm. I was traveling all over. I had these pretty major clients. My clients were all public officials. So it was a pretty big deal. And then all of a sudden, I can't even think straight. It just felt, I mean, it happened gradually over time. But
Mm.
once my awareness felt as if it was someone just flipped a switch, and all of a sudden I'm,
Wow.
just sitting in my house staring out the window.
Mm.
And then my dad got sick, and so there was that whole thing. So I stayed in partial hospitalization almost the whole time he was sick until he died, because it was just so, the
Mm.
whole thing was so traumatic. So eventually I found this writer, Natalie Goldberg. Her most famous book, she's written 15 books. I think she's working on her 16th.
Mm.
And her most famous book is called Writing Down the Bones.
Mm.
And it's about um, writing down your first thoughts, your authentic experience of the world, and sensory details. That's her big, big thing. And
Mm.
so I actually went to Taos to take a workshop with her, and I so fell in love with the workshops that that I convinced my husband to move to Taos, and we sold a lot of our possessions and moved to New Mexico, thinking we would just stay there forever. And Taos is, so Columbus is, I think, the 15th largest metropolitan area in the United States.
Oh,
And Taos is a town of 7,000 people
okay.
in very remote, in northern New Mexico, in the mountains. um, Three cultures: uh, the Pueblo people, the Tauseños, which are actually they come from the conquistadors, and then the approximately 12% of the population that is Anglo. And so it was quite a shock. It was quite the culture shock. The
Mm.
actual living there was a shock. So, but the work with Natalie was amazing, and that's
Mm.
what we eventually came back, and then that's what has been the foundation of my writing since, is doing writing practice, these timed writings based on meditation,
Mm.
and having a community of other writers that do the same kind of writing. Natalie encouraged me. She didn't encourage me. She told me I had to teach when I came back to Ohio, because that's what she loves, and she knows that you have to teach what you need to learn. So I
Oh, I
started
love that.
teaching.
I love that.
So I started teaching classes at Upper Arlington's adult ed program, and I had stopped for a couple of years, but I'm probably going to start doing that again. And that has just been the foundation. And then I did go to MFA school, get my master's of fine arts in creative writing at Goddard College. It was a
Mm.
low res program, so you go back and forth. So it actually mimics the writing life, because you have these very intense periods where you're spending a lot of time with other writers and with it's a professor, but it's like an editor. And then you go
Mm.
home and write by yourself.
Mm.
And then I also joined, and it almost sounds silly, but it has been foundational, is National Novel Writing Month. There's a thing every November called National Novel Writing Month, where you write 50,000 words of fiction. And I rebelled and wrote 50,000 words of nonfiction. And that was how I was able to get my first manuscript
Oh,
done.
nice.
So that's kind of a long answer, but the answer is yes, lots of support, lots of different
Mm.
ways. When people want to write, I always encourage them to realize that it's a team sport. It really is.
Mm.
And so
I
you
love
do
that.
the writing by yourself, but you have to have other people, other eyes on your work, other people to encourage you, other people to help you with ideas.
I like that. That sense of community, which is what we build so much here on the podcast, is that we're connected to each other. We need each other. We're not isolated and alone. As much as our culture has been so isolated, even by the pandemic, we need a sense of connection and community.
I agree. That's been
Mm-hmm.
so important for me in all areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then eventually I had to find the right book, because I had another book. The book I actually wrote a book about when my dad died, and that I think I didn't know what the story was yet, and I think I do now. But eventually, when I started running, which is a whole nother story of how that happened, because it was not my plan, then once that happened, and I realized that I had a story about what I thought was middle-aged woman takes up running. That's what I thought I was writing about. And the more I had it edited, and the more people looked at it, they said the real story is woman trying to save her life.
Ooh,
And so once I
wow.
doubled down on that, and it's really a running book. I mean, it is. The first half of the book is very memoirish and much more emotionally deep. And then once I started marathon training, it's really a kind of a training plan in some ways. And then at the end,
Oh,
it
wow.
comes back. It comes back to more of an emotional arc. But
Mm,
once I had that, then I really felt like I had something, and that's what sold it. That's what sold it to Mango. So that was my first book, was Depression Hates a Moving Target, and it's about mental health and running. I call it a running and mental health memoir. I may have made that genre up. I'm not sure, but
mm,
yeah. So
neat. I'm so curious about this idea of a writing practice. I want to look more into Natalie's work because even as we were talking before we started recording the episode, you were saying that our writing is not just about our thinking and about a time, in a different um, remembering back or reflecting back. It's also what's happening in the moment. I don't know if you could
right.
speak to any more about that. I think that's
Sure. Yeah. One
brilliant.
of the rules, Natalie has rules of writing practice, is uh, is be specific. So even if you're remembering something in the past, remembering the sensory details of it will cause physical. And I'm not sure she even talks about it quite like this, but this is the way I experience it. It will cause physical sensations in your body while you're writing it. You may
Mm,
even have the same physical sensations that you had then,
wow. Yeah.
which is why it can be really powerful for mental health work, because it's a way to sort of titrate or desensitize yourself by writing just a little bit about something that's scary or painful or joyful too.
Sure.
Some people even have problems with that. So you use the practice of setting a timer, which is creates kind of a little container, almost like a pressure cooker. And your mind says, "Oh, I can do anything for 10 minutes. I'll just keep writing
Mm,
for 10 minutes." And then you keep your hand moving so that you don't cross out, you don't backspace, which is hard when if you're typing. She encourages people to write by hand because it actually is a different physical activity, and it lights up similar but slightly different areas of the brain when
mm-hmm.
you write by hand versus typing. So when you're doing that, you keep your hand moving. And even if you have to just make a circle with your pen or type XXXXXXXXS or spacebar, 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 if you don't know what, you just keep your hands moving, because the movement, that momentum, once you're in, inertia is both, once you're in motion, a body, what is it? A body in motion will stay in motion until
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
opposing force, whatever. So it, in the back of your head, this part of you that may be an inner critic or maybe a big doubt bubble or something, we kind of have those chasing us, especially writers, I think, have a lot of them. Um,
Mm.
and it will still be there talking to you, but it won't catch up because your hands are already moving. So you just keep your hand moving for
Ah,
that 10
yeah.
minutes. And she uses topics. You don't have to. They're generic, but yet they help you dive in. So it may be something as simple as I remember,
Mm.
or
Mm-hmm.
a haircut, or mashed potatoes, or my first car, or my first kiss. Um, or I like to use things that are a little more emotional. Everything I don't want to tell you, and
Oh.
or what I'm not saying, or
Oh, that's
what
good.
I don't see, what I don't hear, things like that. She'll do that too. She'll do what I see and then what I don't see, what I hear, what I don't hear, what I'm
I
thinking,
like
what I'm
that.
not
Yeah.
thinking. Um, and I now post every day on all the social media channels. I don't think I have it on Threads yet because there's no way to automate it on Threads yet. I do ask people what's for breakfast, but excuse me, on Threads. But I put a writing topic on let me back up. On all the social media channels, I post a writing topic every day. And I use a couple hashtags, but
Mm.
10 minutes go is the hashtag. So 10 minutes
Oh,
go.
nice. I
is
want
the
to look
hashtag.
into that.
Yeah. So if you just Google 10 minutes go, it'll be under any of my social media platforms. You don't have to follow all of them. Please don't follow all of them because that will make your life crazy. Um, and but yeah, and then just sit down with either pen and paper or your laptop, or if you have a nice iPad that you can write on, that kind of thing, and do your 10 minutes and just don't stop. And if you get stuck, just write the topic again. And so the idea is that you connect with the sensory detail of actually writing now, but you're also connecting with a memory, or if you're writing fiction, the embodiment of whatever that character is feeling, seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, right, in the moment of the book. So it's sort of it's a way to kind of creep up on mindfulness. But Natalie created it based on meditation, because in meditation practice, somebody sets a timer, whether it's they don't really set, but the teacher is the timer, and then they give you instructions. And when your mind wanders, you have whether you're focusing on the breath or a body sensation, when your mind wanders, you bring it back. And so that's the same thing with writing practice. When your mind wanders, you just come back to the topic, or you write. Yeah. So that's the writing practice. And I don't do it every day. I did for a long time. I did every day. I did at least 10 minutes for a long time. Now I don't do it every day, but I do it whenever I'm stuck with something, even if it's not in writing. I'm confused about, I don't know, something going on in my life. I may have had a uncomfortable conversation with someone, and I want to write, because I often like to get to what my part is in a situation, because I can talk all day about what I think they did wrong, and I can't do anything about that. Sure. I may be able to say something to them. This is what happened when you did this. This is how I felt. But ultimately, if there's not something I can do about it or accept about myself, then I'm powerless over it. And I'm powerless over it anyway, but it's easier for me to process it when I think, okay, where did I step into this? Did I say something that might have been unkind? Is there something? How can I examine that? And it's much safer for me to examine that in a notebook where nobody's watching, than it is to and then later I might take that to my therapist and talk about it too. Or nice. a friend. But nice. But for the writing, it's the same thing. I use the same process.
I think those
are great practices. Yeah.
How even, historically we've separated body and mind, and being able to combine the two for mental health. I mean, we talk a lot about EMDR, which, see, I had to pause and make sure.
You had to make sure you had the letters in the right order. I could tell, slow that down so I can.
And then gas again. But I think that's wild, just how, our physical body attaches to our mind. And I thought that mind, that focus on movement is interesting as well, not stopping the flow. So do you hard cut off at 10 minutes no matter what? Or is that like pencils down?
Only if I'm with people and we're doing it as a group. But no, I don't. Well, the truth is it depends, which is my answer to everything. If I'm have to be someplace, and yeah, obviously. But often what happens is after the 10 minutes, the juices are just getting flowing.
Yeah.
And then I really want to dive, and I might even write now. Okay, dive, Nita, dive. I'll just write that. Almost as if I'm talking to myself, cheering myself on.
Oh, nice.
So no, I definitely don't. It's not a hard stop at all. It's a trick in a way, because there's that part of our minds, that little, reptilian brain, whatever, that's, oh my God, I can't write. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And so
just
say
start.
Just 10 minutes.
Right.
If 10 minutes is too much, do 5. Just start. Because we're always fighting inertia.
Yes. I love that.
I think that's really interesting too. I don't know how you all use meditation, but I feel like my body slows, and at the end of meditation, I might feel more rested. It seems like with this activity, you might feel more creative or invigorated.
Well, in some ways, I'll feel more rested because the thoughts are not banging around in my head and, banging into my skull is what it almost feels like. Sure. And so inside, I may not physically feel more rested. I may feel more excited, more creative, but my mind will be calmer.
Hmm.
So, because there's a difference. I see this most probably when running. People have, not everyone, but a lot of people have the idea that to run faster, you have to clench and push and exert more.
Mm.
And that only goes so far. The thing that, and I'm not a fast runner, so don't get me wrong. I'm not qualifying for Boston here. But if you know what that means, there's a Boston
Yeah.
Marathon. You have to qualify.
Right.
Okay, not everybody knows
Right.
it. Yeah, I forgot.
I
Oopsies, don't
actually
run.
knew
I
that
shouldn't.
reference,
You did,
Nita. I'm
yay!
impressed.
Awesome.
I don't always know references. I
Yeah,
knew that
yeah.
one.
So you have to qualify for Boston. So yeah, it's a big deal and it's tough. And but I have found that the more I relax and focus on having good form,
Mm.
the faster I go.
Hmm.
And at the
Interesting.
end, I'm still spent. I'm still
Mhm.
done. I just did, oh my God, I just did the worst race of my life. And I'm so glad I did. But it was it's a 50K, so 31 mile I did in June. And it
Oof.
was brutal. But, but I kept reminding myself as I was out there, don't you you're not pushing is not going to help you. I had to kind of pull a little bit mentally, but mostly it was just completely relax, one foot in front of the other, completely
Mm.
relax. Are you upright? Are you leaning from your belly? Are you breathing? Are you taking in enough nutrition? Are you drinking enough fluid? It was, and
Mm.
it had to be a completely relaxed kind of thing. And
Wow.
so where the heck were we going? But I think with a lot of meditation. Yeah. So with the meditation, I mean,
You forget and then you remember. You
yeah,
forget
yeah,
and then
That's
you
how I know
remember.
you've been
that's,
practicing meditation, because that's the whole point.
That's right.
it
You're bringing it
is,
back.
it
You're like,
is.
oh, here we go. Now let me
Yeah.
check in.
I'm also been pretty good at forgetting things. And so I'm getting better at remembering. But, but yeah, in meditation, you do that remembering that,
Mm.
oh, that's
Mm-hmm.
right, I'm meditating. Because when
Mm-hmm.
your mind wanders off and you're suddenly thinking about, I don't know, something you did 20 years ago, a trip you took 10 years ago, or the grocery list, what you need to get at the store in the
Mm-hmm.
next hour after you're done meditating. Remembering. So when I'm out on the trail, remembering, oh, that's right, I just need to relax. I'll feel myself just completely tense up. My jaw will be
Mm.
clenched. My shoulders will be up to my ears. My hands will be clenched. I mean, just, I can
Yeah.
feel my whole body. And so just relax your hands, try to drop your jaw, and be right where I'm at in a relaxed state.
That is cool. That helps me hear you process that out a little bit because when I think of running, I think I'm going to die. I mean,
Yeah, well, I still think
running
that.
has not been my friend. I'm
I
like,
still
I'll
think that.
walk. Thank you. I resonate with the dog mom. I'm curious what kind of dogs you have. A total bunny trail, but I'm just still
Oh
curious.
no. Yeah, I have a yellow lab.
Okay.
We had a yellow lab before that he was my co-star in Depression Hates the Moving Target, the first book. And
Mm.
he did the initial training with me. I think he went up to, I want to say he went 10 miles, which a lot of dogs go a lot further, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just what he did with me. And before that, we had a golden retriever. We've had American Eskimo dog, but mostly the labs. Those are my
Mm.
loves, are
Yeah.
the labs. But
Yeah.
we had a golden retriever when I was a kid. They're great, great dogs.
Yep. That
But
was our first dog.
yeah, just love especially the yellow labs. They're really a different personality. I mean, I
Mm.
think every dog's different, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we have
Mm-hmm.
now. Scarlet, the Pupperina, she's so bad she has her own hashtag. She's the 99% good dog because she's so bad. She's just
Aw.
she's adorable, but she's bad. Yeah.
Well, I have a curiosity question about meditation and mindfulness. Is there a distinction there? Is it that you use mindfulness to practice meditation? How would you kind of explore those two words just a little bit?
Mindfulness is a particular technique of
Okay.
meditation because meditation has a very broad definition. Some people say they're going to meditate on something, and what they mean is they're going to think about it. And meditations have often meant sometimes it's prayer, sometimes it's, you could say, well, I'm going to do I'm going to do my daily meditation. So what they mean are their prayers, or they're going to take a topic and think about it. So in mindfulness, you're bringing your mind into your body or into your thoughts, but not to think, to notice.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be mindful of two things: thoughts and body sensations. That's your experience. So let me back up. My primary meditation teacher has been a man named Shinzen Young, and he defines mindfulness as infusing your experience with awareness and equanimity. And when he says experience, what he means is your thoughts and your body sensations, because that's what your experience is made of. It's not made of anything else. There's nothing else about except what you're thinking about and what's happening in real time in the moment in your body. And then infuse is just pay attention with high level of focus, and awareness, kind of the same thing. So you direct your attention, awareness, to that experience. And you do it with a quality of mind called equanimity. And the equanimity is the part that's probably the most difficult to describe. It's the kind of thing you sort of have to experience. But it's a calm state of mind or a non judgmental curiosity. So when you said you had a curiosity question,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a bit of equanimity. I'm curious about this. And you kind of open your mind, and you're not committed or not uh, wanting a particular answer or a particular result. It's sort of open handed and even handed.
Yep.
And, sure, we have hopes and dreams. And can we be with life when they don't come true? Can we be with, also, can we be with joy fully without grasping? Because the mindfulness practice and the meditation I do does come from the Buddhist tradition. I like that tradition has appealed to me because they talk about suffering in a very direct way, that life can be difficult. But the thing is that they talk about the reason that we suffer, and then they give a solution to it of how to suffer less. I mean, you're never not going to suffer altogether unless you're the Buddha, but the suffering is caused by craving and aversion. So we're trying to pull something toward us or trying to push something away. So and equanimity is the solution to craving and aversion. It's being with it without needing for it to be any different than it is. And it's not something you can just turn on like flipping a switch. It really takes practice. And I find that it's most helpful to practice with things like your nose itching, or standing in a grocery line when there's a person in front of you who's got 16 items in the 15-item line. And so you're noticing your frustration, possible boredom, with awareness and equanimity, because you're trying to go, all right, this is what is. I can't change this. Sure, I could yell. Sure, I could call the manager. Sure, I could call the person out. But let's just have a little experiment. Let's just be open to this and see what happens. Can I be with this? And yeah, that's all kind of I don't know, just kind of my shorthand way of saying it. So when I just remember being at different retreats and listening to Shinzen's lectures, talks about meditation, and people would ask him a question. Anything from, my foot continues to fall asleep during meditation, to my spouse just died. And his answer was essentially the same. He would be caring about what happened, and then he would say, let's practice. Let's see if you can practice infusing that experience, your thoughts and body sensations around your foot falling asleep, your spouse dying, anything in between, with awareness and equanimity. His answer was always the same.
So did you study with him in person or? Okay, nice.
Yeah,
so
I
where
did.
was that?
We did, the first retreat was in California. We did a retreat in Maryland. I think, did we go to Vermont? a couple different places. My husband's from California, and so we would go to visit his family, and then we would go to a retreat. So most of the retreats were in California, but
Nice.
I want to say Maryland and maybe Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
He lived in Vermont for a long time. Now he lives in Arizona, and I don't think he's doing in-person retreats now. I want to say he's in his late 70s or early 80s.
Okay.
And so he's not doing in-person retreats, but he does a lot of online things. The Zoom sphere freed him up to not travel, which is so helpful to not have that extra burden when you're aging.
Sure. I was just going to say, I referenced, in case any of our listeners use the Calm app and Jeff Warren's daily trip, that he references Shinzen Young as well. So it was fun to have a familiar name that I went, oh, I know. Our standing joke in our podcast is that I never know a reference. Like I'm not up on all the different famous people.
A deep mental health or psychological.
And then we found some that I find some references that I actually know who people are talking about, which is exciting. I guess that's true, Samuel. I had never really thought about that before.
These are the only references that me and Sarah just collectively get. You get all the references we don't understand.
There you go. Between the three of us, we figure out what's going on, but otherwise. Well, Nita, you've got a book coming out in September, A Daily Dose of Now. That sounds so exciting, very digestible, little nuggets of rhythms and rituals that folks can benefit from. Do you want to say anything about that book coming out?
Yes. Thank you for giving me that chance. It is a daily reader. Each page, so it's a page a day, 365 entries. Each page will have a quotation that's related to mindfulness, a little example, maybe 4 or 5 sentences of something from my life in which a challenge has occurred and here's what I did, and then a practice, today's practice at the bottom of each page that is something very simple you can do that day. Real simple. My favorite example is every time you walk through a door today, notice which foot goes first.
Huh.
So it just brings your mind into the moment. And they're just tiny little digestible.
Wow.
Because this is Shinzen's term, but mindful micro hits. Because we are so busy, we are so overwhelmed, we are so inundated with information that we really need some very accessible ways to introduce, kind of sneak mindfulness into our lives.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, and so when is that coming out?
September 26th is the fingers, toes, eyes crossed.
Everything
That's
crossed.
the date it'll come out. Yeah. The publishing company, Mind Moon Movement, is very excited about it, and that's the tentative date. So we hope.
And I was just going to say, Nita, you had mentioned before we had started recording that this is a 30 years in the making project.
Yeah.
And I just think that's beautiful, like what you've accumulated in your life journey. And that's precious. I mean, just the collection of that it sounds very beautiful.
Thank you. It means a lot to me because like I said, I've been working on it that long, and I would put it aside, but it was always in the back of my mind. And especially when you're gathering quotes or experiences to put in a book so that it doesn't, so that, when you have 365 of them, they can't all look the same. They're similar because I just told you Shinzen's answer to everything, which is also in Make Every Move Meditation. So there is some common technique, but it's completely unlimited as to how you can use it. And that's what I wanted to show people was that that you can do this every day, any day, in any situation, and it can be helpful to your mental health and well-being.
And those little small doses are what make it possible. I think that's what's so amazing in the work that I do as well with people is that, we want drastic change and healing and recovery, and how we get there is little by little.
Yeah. Drips,
which makes it possible. Drips. Yeah.
Yes.
Bruce Perry calls them moments of healing. He calls like just little moments of healing. It's like, oh, that sounds so gentle and kind and really nourishing, really healing.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for this book. I hope that that's what has helped my practice is having not just the going to a retreat or having a regular teacher, but having these just little moments where I remember, oh, that's right, I can just do this now, right
Yeah.
now. I don't have to wait. I don't have to be anyplace else, right now, right here.
It's beautiful.
I agree. I think that can be impactful. I'm looking forward to the book, A Daily Dose of Now, 365 Mindfulness Practices for Living in the Moment. Did I get that right?
Yes, that exactly.
Nice. That was all by ear.
Awesome. So good, Sam.
That wasn't by
Good.
memory, but that was by ear. But I'm
Excellent.
looking forward to that in September, and then the no doubt, rip away daily calendar that you'll come out with.
Well, and the journal and the course,
Right,
and
right,
then the actual
exactly.
book about it. There'll be a
Yeah.
book too, and probably a
The conference.
workbook and the
Yeah.
conference. Yeah, we have the tour.
Yeah.
I am
The
pretty
exams,
excited.
et cetera, et
So
cetera.
I mentioned my writing teacher, longtime writing teacher, she's a Zen practitioner. That's her real heart work. Natalie Goldberg, and she's agreed to write the foreword to A Daily Dose of Now. So really
That'd be
looking
so
That's a
exciting.
neat
I'm looking
connection.
forward to it.
Yeah. So thank you.
too.
Thanks for, as an author, sometimes, I mean, we spend a lot of time alone hammering out words and you think, oh my gosh, does anybody care? And so when people are excited, it just makes your day.
Makes it all worth it.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I am looking forward to it.
Great.
I'm excited to make that connection because we've been talking these last couple weeks about how to become more mindful, more than weeks, years. And so this will be a good, small step thing that, maybe we'll have unpack that for
There you go.
Nita Sweeney here. But, well, folks, I appreciate you joining us this week. Thanks so much, Nita, for joining us as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you want to continue the conversation, please check out our other episodes. If you've already done so and you're a super fan, we'd love a review on iTunes or Spotify. But Nita, we finish every episode with gratitudes or affirmations. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Do you have any gratitude or affirmation that you want to end the episode with?
Thank you for this moment. Thank you for my breath. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for people like you who are doing this work. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for my breath.
I love that. I have so much gratitude just for, as we said, the connections that are made just so serendipitously, like Connie reaching out, Samuel's wife, that, I'm thankful for Connie mentioning to me, you should reach out to Nita, and then the willingness of someone to say, yes, I would love to spend that time with you. And I feel like my life is touched and is richer from having spent the time of getting to know you, Nita, a little bit, and looking forward to reading more of your Make Every Move a meditation and the upcoming daily dose as well. So it's been beautiful.
Yeah, thank Connie for me too. I didn't actually know her name, so
yeah.
Make sure you thank her. She must have been on one of the continuing legal education programs. Thank you. That's fabulous.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that lawyers do that. I didn't even realize they had a mental health component of her support, because of course you're going to have trauma, with things happening for lawyers.
They kind of sneak it in under competence. It's in the ethics. So the ethics, they have to take a certain number of ethics hours, continuing legal education. And when I say sneak it in, it's not underhanded or anything, but that's the way that they talk about it, is because there's a requirement in the ethics code that you be competent, and you cannot be competent if you are not mentally well.
Right.
And that's where I come in. I talk about that.
Yeah, we need that in all our, talk about changing systems, whether
fields.
it's like education fields and police officers and hospitals and all the different places that need mental health and trauma understanding. And
yes,
absolutely, that would help change the world.
I love it. Cool, folks. Well, thanks so much for joining us this week. Oh, I was looking at our episodes. This is episode 95. We're really getting up there, so there's plenty to go back and listen to. But anyway, folks, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.